Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. All the tune will be down here. So let's get into this look. Okay, so I started off with skin prep using serum, moisturizers and primer for her skin, and she has an oily skin and I had to use Meron. I know Meron is more like a toner, but because it has a lasting effect, I had to use it before I used the Becca primer on the T-zones. And then for foundation, I used hudabeauty in Tres Leches and I mixed it with Charlotte Tilbury in Warm Chaud 8. Okay, so this too was just perfect for her skin tone. I had to add the warm chaud because it gave her skin a little bit of warmth. Okay, so I'm mixing it with that Huda Beauty Interest Leches. It was just perfect for her skin. Okay, so for blending, I use my Merak Beauty Cosmetics sponge, and you can see that it did a wonderful job. I first of all used my Viccabel brush before I went in with my Merak. I love to distribute with a brush first before using my beauty sponge to blend in. We were actually in a hurry as usual because our working sessions are always in a hurry because we always have like another client coming in or even training. So sometimes my client comes in between my training time, so I have to finish up in an hour before I go ahead to train my students. So the hair took a lot of time because frontal is one hairstyle that takes a lot of time. So definitely the hairstylist will eat into my time, and that's fine too. So I wasn't going to film this look, but I just had to put on my camera to just film it for you guys because I know a lot of people are going to request if I posted it on my YouTube channel. So you have it here. I know I wasn't able to put on all the clips, but I was very particular about the complexion part, which is this part. So I love to show you guys that you can actually get the right foundation for an extremely light client. This my client is my favorite client, and I always make sure I use the best products for her. Reason is because she's a client that, you know, pays and actually pays sometimes most times pays more than you charge. So I kind of love to use the best of products for her because she actually deserves it. In fact, she's our favorite. Our favorite. So moving on with contour, I used my Charlotte Tilbury in foundation in Warm Charge 12.5. This was just exactly what I used for her contour, and I love how it came out on her face. Oh, sorry guys, I meant warm chard in 8 because I used the warm chard alone for the contour, in as much as I added a little bit of it to the Huda Beauty I used earlier for her entire face. So this warm chard, I used it as contour because I didn't want her face to appear too reddish. Okay, so I'm just trying to add warmth to her to the perimeters of her face using the same Merak sponge. So when I had to blush her skin using this Eye Magic palette, I just took the pink shade and just to add a little bit of color on her skin. Okay, you will need to blend that thing down because blending is key. Leaving harsh lines doesn't make your work look clean, so you really have to take your time to do a lot of blending. I was really fast with this makeup because it was her husband's birthday and she was actually in a hurry. She didn't want to be late for the dinner, so I too was also in a hurry. So in case I didn't post most of the part I did on her. It's fine. I hope you guys already understand, but I'm just doing this because I promise to be consistent. So at least one video in a week won't be bad, right? Okay, so I went ahead to highlight her face, and this concealer is just like a shade lighter than her skin. And I used the Too Faced Bond This Way in Birch. Okay, sorry, Too Faced Bond This Way in shortbread. This is shortbread, and shortbread is actually not as light as the beige. This one has a little bit of warmth to it, and I love the fact that it has a good balance to her skin tone. I didn't want it to be too white because you know that when you see an oyibo, you have to tan them, and that's exactly I wanted Demi to look tanned, and I didn't want the concealer to take up all the tan, so that's why I did the contour earlier. So I'm going to set that her face using the Bobbi Brown, and for setting powder I used the Merakcosmetics in Ginger. Very perfect for her skin tone. So this Bobbi Brown is also her exact shade. So using my Viccabel powder brush, I just use it to set the face. And for her eye primer, I use the Benign Clown White. So I'm just going to get into eyeshadow right now, straight up. So I'm trying to blend the eyeshadow primer because however you blend your eyeshadow primer determines how your eyeshadow will sit. So I'm using the 7 Beauty Bridal Palettes collection. I can't remember the name of the shade I use, but I'll just put it down in the description box. So this one is a very dark brown from that palette. It's going to serve as my base for the entire eyeshadow because I'm going to be using pigments. I mean, I just realized that I hardly do all matte looks, but definitely this look in particular, the face is an all matte look because the whole glowy um look, it gradually fading out, and the weather is too hot in Nigeria to have oil all over your face. So I'm going with matte, and most of my clients this season I'm also going all matte for them. So to blend out that brown eyeshadow, I'm using my Morphe bronzer in Phenom. So Phenom is going to serve as my transition. This is actually a smoky eye with a tint of pigment. So I'm trying to smoke and smoke because it's really going to be smoky. I mean, don't be scared if you think that the smoky is too much for her complexion. It's definitely not too much for her complexion. So moving ahead, I'm going to apply this Merak pencil. This pencil is everything. It's so dark, and I love it that it's going to give her that foxy smoky effect. So I'm using a small detailer brush to blend it out. I don't want to use a liner out there, so I want it to have this natural foxy kind of lift around that area. So that's why I'm blending it out. If I still actually use a liner, I use a liner, but I used it in the inner part of her eye. So I'm going to blend that out with a black eyeshadow, and I'm going to also blend it out with another brown stuff. Like I'm going to use my bronzer, but first of all I had to do on the other side, and then later I blended with my Fenty bronzer in Mocha Mami. So Mocha Mami was what gave it a tint of brown. It's the black liner is not looking all black. So moving ahead, I'm using this pigment from this is not, sorry, this is Gasby. I can't remember the brand name again. I always forget, but I'm going to leave it in the description box. So this Gasby is in between silver and gold, but it's more of silver. So it's not so it's not really champagne color, but I don't know how to explain it, but it's, you can see that it sparkles. So let's just call it champagne, but a lighter champagne color. So moving ahead, I had to line her lash line with the same Merak pencil I used in lining the upper part of her eye. And I'm going to still use the same detailer brush to blend it out. Guys, there's something I did for this eye. For her waterline, I used my MAC pencil. Okay, but first of all, I used my Merak pencil to smudge on the lash line because I wanted the waterline to have a brown color, and then the outer corner, which is the lash line, to have a black pencil, which I blended, and I still had to use a brown eyeshadow to blend it out because I don't want it looking all black. So moving on, I had to do her brows using the shopdidico pencil. I'm sure you guys are wondering why I did brows last. I didn't want her brows to be so obvious, and I also wanted it to look well defined and natural. So whatever I do there, I'm going to brush it out because I really want the hair to look like natural strokes. So I later defined with concealer, and that's it. If you notice that I'm not doing so much of definition, but I'm just going to leave it clean. And the concealer I use here is the Kevin Aquine in shade number 11. Because 11 is not so bright, and I didn't want her brow bone to be so bright. Because this eye makeup should give the smoky effect that I wanted it to look, be like. Sorry, it should have the smoky effect that I want, so I don't want the brows to look too bright. So I'm going to blend that out and set it, and also go back to my transition color. You can see from afar that the brows are not so bright, and the eye makeup is looking pink. It's not all that smoky and scary like in the beginning. Okay, so after that, I had to blend out her face using the small eyeshadow brush from the Viccabel palette. I'm using the small brush because I don't want to extend that setting powder to a place where I don't want it to be. So it's better to be very detailed when you are blending the face. That way the highlight will stay where it's meant to be, and the contour too. So going ahead to do this blush using my Nars and OrgasmX. So I just use a little bit of the blush because too much blush, it's not going to look nice. So moving ahead with highlights, I use Artist Couture and blending it out with my Nibanbeauty brush. Okay, so very little glow because remember I said I'm doing an all matte, but I just want her cheekbones to pop just a little bit, so I'm using a powdered glow. So in this look, I didn't use any face balm or illuminators because I'm not going for a dewy finish. I'm going for a matte finish. So for the lips, I'm using this light brown lip stain from Dose of Colors, and this Dose of Colors is in Cork. Cork is more like the lightest of their browns, but because Demi is extremely light skinned, Cork is looking brown on her lips. So after that, I went in with the Kamsicollection nude 1, sorry, nude 2 at the center of her lips. I didn't make it obvious because I wanted her lips to look like her skin too. So, and then after that, I topped it up with a clear gloss, and then going in with this Merakcosmetics mascara to I used it on her lower lashes. And that's all for this video, guys. I hope you learned one or two things from this video, and this is the finished look. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Turn on the notification bell, like, comment, and share to your friends. Bye.